The dragon smelled blood before the sound reached it, and for the first time in many years, the sensation did not bring excitement or rage, but a deep, aching sorrow. Because blood had followed it for centuries, and always ended the same way, with screams fading into silence and promises turning into ash. The valley lay quiet beneath a sky heavy with cloud. Broken stone and ancient ruins scattered like the bones of a forgotten world. And at the center of it all stood a single human, thin as a shadow, bleeding from his palm while calmly unwrapping food as if death itself were nothing more than an inconvenience. The dragon shifted its ruined body. Scales cracked and dulled, one wing dragging uselessly through the dirt. It growled, a low sound that once shattered armies, yet now carried only exhaustion. The human looked up slowly, eyes hollow but steady, and spoke without trembling. "Relax, it is only my lunch." The word struck harder than any blade. His name was Kale, though no one had called him that in kindness for many years. He had learned early that names mattered only when someone cared enough to remember them. Born in a border village that existed only to supply wars it never chose, Kale grew up watching soldiers pass through with full bellies and hollow eyes. Men praised as heroes, while children learned to measure survival in crumbs. When the armies finally returned wounded and angry, the village paid the price for victories it never celebrated. Homes burned, crops were seized, and Kale's parents were taken for questioning that never ended. He survived because he was small and fast and lucky, though luck felt like a cruel word for a boy who learned to sleep beside corpses without crying. When he was old enough to hold a spear, the same kingdom that destroyed his home pressed a brand into his wrist and called it duty. He trained, he marched, he bled, and when his legs shattered beneath a collapsing wall, they left him behind because broken tools slow an army dot, so Kale walked. He walked through hunger, through winter, through the quiet shame of begging and the louder cruelty of refusal. He learned to expect nothing. That was how he survived. Expectation hurt more than starvation. The dragon had once expected everything got. It was called Theraxis, last guardian of an oath older than any crown. Dragons were not born to rule, but to remember, to hold the balance between fire and restraint, between destruction and protection. For centuries, Theraxis watched humans rise and fall, honoring the pact that promised coexistence so long as greed did not outweigh wisdom. But wisdom faded quickly in the glow of gold. Kings demanded tribute, then obedience, then submission. When Theraxis refused, they sent priests who spoke lies dressed as prayers, and mages who twisted ancient language into chains. The first spear tore through its wing. The second poisoned its fire. The final curse bound its strength to its suffering, feeding on pain until flight became memory and flame became smoke. Other dragons turned away. Weakness was dangerous. Weakness invited extinction. So Theraxis hid in the valley, waiting for hunters to finish what betrayal began. That was why the smell of blood should have meant mercy in the form of a quick death. Instead, it brought confusion. Kale chewed slowly, every movement careful, conserving energy like a man who knew the value of each breath. His blood dripped onto stone already stained by older battles, and he did not rush to stop it. The dragon realized the blood was not fear. It was exhaustion. It was the quiet acceptance of someone who had lost the will to run. Before Theraxis could decide what to do, the air changed. Steel rang out. Voices shouted. The soldiers arrived like a storm, banners snapping with the symbol Kale, recognized even before his heart began to race. The same emblem that burned his wrist. The same crown that discarded him. Arrows flew. One struck Theraxis deep in the chest. Another tore across Kale's shoulder, spinning him to the ground. Pain flared bright and sharp, but Kale did not scream. He had learned that screams rarely brought help. The dragon roared, fury and agony tearing from its throat as soldiers advanced with practiced confidence. This was the end they had rehearsed for weeks. Cale pushed himself up. He did not know why his feet carried him forward instead of away. He only knew that leaving always hurt more than staying. He grabbed a fallen shield, heavy and cracked, and dragged it between the dragon and the soldiers. Muscles burning, breath ragged. They will kill you even if you run. He shouted, voice breaking but loud enough to carry. They always do. Theraxis felt the curse tighten, reacting to defiance, feeding on the chaos. Pain exploded through its body, and it collapsed, the weight of centuries pressing it into the dirt. This human should not die for it. No one should. A mage stepped forward, robes marked with runes that glowed sickly blue. Touching the beast seals your fate, the mage said calmly. You will die with it. Cale staggered, blood pooling at his feet, and placed his hand against the dragon's wound. The heat burned his skin, but he did not pull away. I am already dying, he whispered. At least this way, it means something. Magic surged. The curse shattered not with resistance, but with understanding. Memories flooded Cale's mind, skies filled with fire, ancient watchfulness, loneliness stretched across centuries. Theraxis felt Cale's life in return, the hunger, the rejection, the quiet strength forged in abandonment. The bond formed not from spell, but from shared truth. Light erupted across the valley. Theraxis rose, wings torn but blazing with purpose, fire roaring free for the first time in decades. Cale stood beside it, shaking but unbroken, eyes bright with something new. The soldiers fled. The mage fell screaming as the magic he controlled turned against him. When silence returned, it felt sacred. Why did you stay? Theraxis asked. Lowering its massive head, Cale smiled weakly. Because I know what it is to be left behind. They stayed in the valley. Days became weeks. Wounds healed slowly. The dragon guarded the ruins not as a tyrant, but as a sentinel. Cale learned to sleep without fear, to eat without counting each bite, to believe that survival could be more than endurance. Word spread. Some came seeking refuge. Others came seeking glory and never returned. Kings sent envoys who were turned away without fire or threat. One night, another dragon came, driven mad by fear and hunger, bound by the same broken laws. The battle shook the valley, and when dawn came, Theraxis stood victorious, but mortally wounded. It chose sacrifice. It poured its remaining fire into Cale, not as power to destroy, but as strength to endure. The bond burned bright, rewriting fate itself. When the smoke cleared, the dragon was gone. Cale knelt alone, tears falling freely at last. Then the ground trembled. From ash and light, something new rose, not dragon, not human, but both. Memory and hope intertwined. The world changed quietly after. Not because of fear, but because someone stayed when leaving was easier. And because blood does not always mean death. Sometimes it means life choosing to fight back.